What is up to all the difference makers out there? We're ready to jam with another episode. I've got Jen McClure in the Speakeasy podcast studio here, downtown Brighton. I'm just ready for another incredible episode. And you know what? Everybody that's listened to these, to Coffee and Grit, all the returning listeners know that I love having first-time guests on. And what I mean by first-time guests is first time ever on a podcast. I love people that have an incredible story to tell. They're filled with motivation and inspiration, but they've never had the platform on a podcast to share. And I love even more when they come on, they're so nervous because that is the most fun. Like to be able to again, have this conversation in, this is what I live for, Jen. So I'm so excited. So I've got Jen McClure in the studio, and I tell you what, this is really, really cool. Today is my mom's birthday, and Jen is a Mary Kay. What is your official title in Mary Kay?
Sales director.
Sales director. That's what I was saying. So she's this Mary Kay sales director, and I was just sharing with her, my mom. We grew up, she was a single mom working her butt off to try to support us, and didn't have a lot of positive women in her life, and came across Mary Kay as a product and started buying the product, and then all of a sudden started going to these meetings and meeting different people, and had these reasons to get dressed up and go meet other women. And then I was a high school student at the time, and so young man, and I would get to go to these events and first off I think it was my first exposure to personal development, seeing that motivation, that energy, seeing all these women that were beautiful, that were put together, they were inspirational, but most importantly, were supporting each other. And at the time, we didn't have a lot of exposure to that. So it was really, again, that I think was what kickstarted my journey to personal development. And I saw it really, really impact my mom at a time where she needed that confidence and that support. And so it's so cool that it worked out and the stars aligned. I was able to have Jen McClure on. So without further ado, let's turn it to Jen, and let's learn who Jen is. So Jen, welcome to Coffee and Grit.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
It's been a couple of years. So Jen and I share an office at Grit and Lavender, which is part of the reason why Coffee and Grit got named. So for those, my origin goes back to starting this podcast and doing it out of Grit and Lavender.
Nice.
And I wanted to support Natalie and kind of like anything that I could do to help expose her. And then also the whole gist of the show is like drinking coffee and telling these stories of grit and perseverance. Right. And so it just made sense, coffee and grit, and it just kind of aligned. And then I would see Jen, because I literally recorded my episodes in the common area, and people would walk by, and Jen's walked by a few times as I've had my episode. And I'm like, when are you going to get on? When are you going to get on? And she was like, someday. And then a few weeks ago, she's like, now I think is the time.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I was was going through some things and was a little, I'm nervous today, to be really honest, which is crazy because I yabba for a living, right? But just kind of without a net, without a script, just being really real and knowing that it's recorded and public. It's like a little scary. And so I appreciate your grit and persistence in continuing to be, wooing me to come do this. Because I was in a season where I had kind of a lack of clarity around some things, and I just wasn't ready to be that version of myself in public.
Yeah.
So thank you for your grace. And
well, so I was just thinking as you said this, I said beforehand that I don't have planned questions, and I don't ever go into an episode like, oh shit, what if this doesn't work out? Because I only invite people on that I see is inspirational, motivational, but most importantly, authentic in who they are. Like,
thank you.
You walk around with this great energy, and I'm going to get to a post that you had this morning that I think we can really both identify, and I think people listening can really identify with. But you walk around and you have this energy that, and again, motivation that you bring to an environment that helps other people get uplifted.
Thank you.
But I want to talk about this post because I think this is a really good direction for our conversation, because I really share this with you where I am energetic and I love uplifting other people. And I love when I enter a room, I love taking the vibrations of the room to another level. And I think we can really identify that on that. But then I saw your post this morning and I can really identify with always being the uplifter. Right?
Right.
And then all of a sudden something happens and it's like, normally I get around this, but today today it knocked me for a loop and I'm like, this sucks.
And now I'm just cranky.
And now I'm cranky because like people will look at people, like, oh, you're just happy all the time. And no,
Absolutely not true.
not true.
I just don't make it public and I don't celebrate it because there's enough of the world being negative. They don't need my contribution to that at all.
Yeah.
So where would you like me to go with that? Do you want me to just tell the story a little bit for folks that are not?
Absolutely. Tell that story.
So we have an adopted son who, really struggles with some things. So even though he is more mature in age, he does not drive currently. So he is a grown man, becoming increasingly independent, and we love that, and we're really proud of him in the season that he's in. But he doesn't drive yet. So he normally gets the bus to pick him up. Bus did not pick him up this morning, and this has happened several times over the last couple of weeks, even though we have made those arrangements and it's very clear that
You've done everything you can in your power to make sure that bus is showing up.
right. And they're just, it's just whatever. No judgment, stuff happens.
Yeah.
I make mistakes daily, but to have the same mistake made several times over the last couple of weeks. And Monday, let's be honest, Monday is typically the most productive day of the week for entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And we have our laser focus on. And so I get this call, bus didn't come. Oh, for the love of all things holy. Great. I'll be there. Oh, and by the way, my husband has my car. So there's like literally nothing I can do about it at this moment. But whatever, we got him there. And I'm a little cranky. I am
Yeah.
Mary Kay lady in her pajamas, driving to Dansville, just keeping it real. So I'm driving and I'm like, and it's not his fault. So I'm intentionally not taking it out on him. He's as frustrated as I am.
As you are, yeah.
Because he wants to be a responsible grown-up, and now he's had to tell his boss, and none of it is his fault.
Yeah.
None of it is anybody's fault. It just is a thing. But you get to choose how you process that and how you choose to frame it in your brain. But for a minute, I let myself indulge in being a little salty.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm driving and trying to get my head straight again while rearranging my schedule in my head because, now this is 40 minutes out of my day that I really needed to be doing other things. And I come around this corner in Dansville and it is just like, it's just like a picture postcard. Oh, come to Michigan. And it was just like these glorious colors and all of the things. And I thought, you know what? If I was sitting at my kitchen table, I would be drinking coffee. I'd probably be on my third coaching call of the day or whatever it was that I was supposed to be doing at that moment.
Yeah.
And I would have missed this.
Yeah. Yep.
So my whole thought process is, do we have spirits that are open to those divine interruptions, which end up being the most beautiful part of your day? And if you're not, if you don't give yourself space to breathe and enjoy those things and embrace it and catch it, then you will have missed out on a blessing, and that may or may not come around again.
Yep.
So that was the deal.
So beautifully put. I think first off, important. It's okay to have a pity party. It's okay. And I think that's the key thing with people that are like always positive is like, you have to have that release. There is reality, right? There are bad things that happen. There are things that are out of your control that,
Of course.
But then to your point, you now get a choice of what you're going to do with that. Are
Right.
you going to let it be now it's a bad day?
Right.
Because you see that happen. People get thrown for a loop in their morning. Something happens. They run late for a meeting. And then all of a sudden it becomes a bad day because they're putting it out there. It's a bad day. It's a bad day. And then they look at everything that comes in and they filter in all the bad stuff and they attract bad stuff because they're in a bad mood and they're grumpy towards people, because think about it. If you would have started being grumpy to your son
Right.
on the way there, now it ruins his day even more because he feels bad. To your point, he doesn't want this to happen. It's out of
Right.
his control. He feels bad enough as it is because he's got to explain to his boss and he doesn't have any control. And all of a sudden, you respond that way, you could ruin somebody's day, right?
Right.
And your day.
So had I dumped all of that on him, now he's gonna blah that into his world as well.
It's the ripple effect. And I'm
Right.
so glad that you said that, because it's how many lives do you impact? If you sit and think about this, because we can have our pity party and whatnot. And we'll just pause if you want.
Oh, yeah, that'd be amazing.
Just pause. Yeah, absolutely.
Pause.
Yep.
Allergies, sorry.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's just the editing out. We can totally do that. Yep.
Awesome. Kleenex. Great.
Nice.
All right.
So
Ripple effect.
I love how you said the ripple effect, because he's in a situation where if he's showing now his mood's impacted, he's impacting all these people.
Right.
When we choose to have a bad day, how many people are we now impacting to have a bad day?
Right. And I love what you said earlier, that it's not a bad day. That was a challenging situation for a minute.
Yeah.
And in the grand scheme of things, it's not life or death. It's not, we had a financial crisis. I didn't find out that I have cancer. I mean, my goodness.
Yes.
Grand scale of things, big old hairy deal. It's 40 minutes of my day that is now different than it was going to be.
Absolutely.
So that's all I got.
And then it's funny because I said something about the post and you're like, which one? Oh, that one. And it was like something you just totally forgot about.
Yes.
Kind of that in the morning.
Yeah, it was interesting. No, but I actually wrote that. I was so inspired at that moment. I actually pulled over on the side of the road and wrote it from the road.
Yep.
Because I knew I could potentially lose it in the 20 minutes drive home. So, but I had a post yesterday that is very near and dear to my heart as well. So I wasn't sure if that was the one you were referencing.
What's that? What was that one?
That was so in Stockbridge as a business owner, I have opportunity to sponsor a poll. so if you have not been to Stockbridge, you must come. I tell people it is the cutest town that you've never heard of.
Yeah,
it's amazing. It is like driving into Mayberry.
Yeah,
legit.
I ride my motorcycle through there. So yeah.
Like, what? Yeah, it really is that cute. And business owners can sponsor a pole. We have these light poles and these trees that line Main Street.
Okay, yeah.
Yup. And you decorate a pole in whatever theme is that you are wanting to do. And the community members can vote on the pole. And and all of whoever wins the poll contest, all of those, you vote with $1. So it's $1 per vote.
Yeah.
And all of whoever wins the poll contest, all of that money is donated to the charity of your choice.
That's
the
so
banner
cool.
owners. It's amazing. So a couple of years ago, we in our community lost a young lady tragically to a car accident, and she was someone that was very near and dear and special to me. We went through some significant life things together, came out the other side together, and I'm very, very honored to have been a person in her life that was able to get her on a better path and remind her the truth of who she is. And she had turned all of that around and then tragically was lost in this accident. And she was, and her legacy continues to be a source of inspiration for many. And her name is Hannah. And I decorate with her parents. I decorate the pole every year in her honor. And this year we are celebrating her superpower, which was the gift of encouragement. So the decoration is going to be all superhero costumes, and I have ordered a sandwich board kind of thing. And the question will be, what's your superpower? And people in the community will have an opportunity to take a minute and think about the positivity that they bring to the world, and celebrate that as a community. And they will get to write their superpower on the sandwich board thing. And I think Hannah would be pleased. So. Yeah, but it is grieving, because that is That is a gal that was just at the beginning of life. It's a stark reminder that we are not promised tomorrow. And what are we doing today?
Yeah.
If today was your last day, would you have lived it in such a way that 50 years from now, people will say, because I knew Jason, I'm a better person. Because I knew Jen, I remember the truth of who I am, and I want to pass that on and move forward with that. So while we miss Hannah, I am committed at least once a year to make sure that people remember who she was and the light that she was for us for a time.
That is so phenomenal. And it's, as you were saying that, I think of that legacy, and you talk about her superpower. And now that legacy is, we talked about, I love when things tie together too, inspiring and touching people.
Exactly.
Even though she's not here, her spirit, her legacy is able to carry on and touch people. And I love how you've tied it in to highlight people and make them feel good about themselves.
Yep. Last year we did a blessing tree. And I made hundreds of these little goodie bags with a little treasure piece and a word of encouragement in there, and people could come by and get their blessing for the day.
That's awesome.
And we won last year. So
yeah, that's so cool.
So I think there's about $1,500 that went towards her memorial fund. So they have created a scholarship fund for students from Stockbridge, because there are some folks. Stockbridge is really a town that has a variety of socioeconomic situations.
Yeah.
So there are some kids that might not be able to go to college, and Hannah's scholarship allows them to go to college and pursue their dreams.
So awesome.
Change.
So for listeners, how can they get involved? Because I think as we're talking with us right now, kind of that impromptu, how can they support it?
Why the heck not?
Yeah.
So if you're not my friend on Facebook personally, Jen McClure, it's pretty obvious. I'm on there with my husband. We'll have your links
in the show comments. So
perfect.
Yep.
So I will post regularly the link where people can donate to support Hannah's poll. That would be lovely. Thank you.
So awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes, we actually haven't built it yet. So yesterday we got out our little tape measures and like, okay, how much of PVC pipe do we need and all of the things. And, I just feel really honored to do that with Hannah's parents, because as much like we were tight, she was like another daughter to me. We got baptized together.
Wow.
I mean, that kind of super deep forever connection. Yeah. But I'm not her mom. I'm not her dad. And as much as I feel that loss for having been in her life for a teeny tiny just a minute of time.
Yeah.
That those are grandchildren that they're never going to have. Mm-hmm. They get it every day, and she's not there. And so I feel really blessed to lock arms with them and kind of be a support person for them. Hannah's dad said, I know at least once a year our community will remember her. We remember her much more frequently than that. But you do, when you're grieving and you're in pain, sometimes that feels really lonely. And does anybody care about who our daughter was?
Yep.
Well, once a year we make sure they care. So I love that.
So awesome. That's so awesome.
Yeah.
But I love what you said. It's that tying that together, because we talked about a little bit ago, we can be so upset in a moment, mm-hmm. right? But at the end of the day, we don't know how many moments we have. We're talking about a very young person, right? 17 years old. You think you have forever.
Mm-hmm. I have T-shirts older than that.
Yeah, me too. I literally do. Absolutely.
17 is just like, boom, it's a blip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I use that as a huge motivation of just, again, we don't know. And even through COVID, it's like, we don't know mm-hmm. when life is going to end. It's like, I can't just sit here. Right. I've got to go do something. I've got to make impact.
You have to have a sense of urgency. Right.
Yeah.
Right. And hopefully that passion will inform what you do with your day. Could you watch Netflix for 2 hours? Yup. pretty easily.
Yeah.
But has anybody moved forward in their business, in their character, in their relationships? I don't think we can waste time. We can't afford it. The world can't afford it.
Jen, this is awesome because I don't know your full story. Like, how did you find Mary Kay? Kind of what was your journey like? And, how to just, kind of start
all
there.
the things.
Yeah, all the things. Yeah.
The things.
All the things we love to talk about.
Wow. Well, gosh, so much. How long is your program?
Yeah.
So this is actually my second time around in Mary Kay. So,
Okay.
so I can talk about both of those chapters. When the first time around, I feel like Mary Kay found me. And so I was a mom. I was a mom at the time. I was a stay-at-home mom, and I had my background is in education and in the performing arts. So when you talk about not having exposure to positive women, dude, I sang at the opera. It doesn't get more difficult of a culture for women who are not supporting each other. I mean,
that competitive. Oh,
it was it was exciting. So my experience with women in general had not been positive or uplifting at all. So Mary Kay really found me when I was in a season of transition and was a little bit lost. So I'd had a career in the performing arts. I had a career as a youth minister because I've always had this passion to help people and to make a difference.
Yeah.
And particularly with young people, man, that's so cool when you can impact them in those really challenging middle school, high school years. And you might be the only positive person to say, this is what I see in you. And how about I call that out? And you're not alone in all of the things. So I really loved all of that. But we had 2 children by this time, and we had adopted our son who had, as I mentioned, some significant special needs. And I could not balance. I couldn't balance. I'd like, boom, I'm kind of a heart over the bar kind of person, no matter what I do. So I'm giving the best of myself to other people's kids. And there was not enough of me left for my own kids. And I'm like, you know what? That's not right. So I left that career and I was going to be a stay-at-home mom. And by the way, we moved out to the country. So I had no career, no support system. And, and yes, and being a stay-at-home mom is hard.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
like super, super hard. So I had really very much, I was doing the thing, but I'd really lost my way. I'd lost my mojo. And so long story short, my husband went to the gym, and somebody at the gym who was a mutual friend said, "Hey, I'm having this Mary Kay party and Jen should come." Oh, so the reason I came into Mary Kay is thanks to my husband. How crazy is that? And I love it. And again, it's one of those divine interruptions, divine appointments, because never before, never since has anyone ever talked to me about Mary Kay.
That's insane.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
In the best way.
Yeah.
So he came home and he said, "Jen, I think you need to go make some friends." I support that idea. That's good. Tell me how I can do that. That's great.
Tell me how.
It was great.
Tell me where these friends are at.
Please tell me about the magic friends. So he actually drove me to the party.
That's amazing.
I mean, I was kind of messed up actually. So he drove me to that party, and I looked and we did all the thing, and I looked in the mirror, and this was my thought. I looked in the mirror and I went, "Oh, I am pretty." Like, I forgot that I was pretty.
That's heavy.
And we don't want to be like shallow people, like it's all about how pretty I am. But come on. When you don't have that self-confidence, it affects how you relate to the world. It affects what kind of mom you are, what kind of spouse you are, what kind of community member you are. And I forgot.
You can't love other people if you don't love yourself.
Right.
You can give to other people, but you can't truly love other people until you love yourself.
Yeah. And I had fallen out of love with myself and didn't realize it. So that was it. I was like, okay, I need lots of these products. And when you're a consultant with Mary Kay, you get to shop half off. So I'm not good at math, but I'm not stupid, right? And half off is better than full price. So that was literally my big venture into Mary Kay. I was going to be a half off shopper and be like, woo, get some products and get pretty again. That was my whole big vision. But my director was smart enough to say, why don't you have a party and see how it goes? My first night in business, we sold $600.
Wow. Yeah.
That means I get to keep $300. And again, I'm not good at math. And I looked at her and I said, are you sure? And she goes, yes, that's what 50% profit means. Okay. So I walked into the other room and I was like, Dave, my girlfriends came over and ate cookies and gave me a bunch of money and said thank you. And I guess I'm doing Mary Kay now. So it really found me. And in 3 years, so I'm like, all right, $300 a night. I can do this like for a hobby. It's ethical, legal, and there's nothing freaky deaky about it. Let's be honest. So things happen for a reason. 3 years into my little hobby, Dave, my husband, has a motorcycle accident. Yeah. And fast forward, he's fine.
Yeah.
But overnight, Mary Kay went from being the backup plan to the only plan. And I called my director and I'm like, holy moly, Dave is like in bed with the cast on and we got to feed these babies and keep the lights on. Can I, if I got serious, could this be a serious career? And she's like, yeah, I've been trying to tell you that for 3 years. All right, I guess I'll really do it. So 3 months later, I was a sales director. Directors make $50,000 to $100,000 a year, free car, all the things. And Mary Kay was the sole or primary income in our home for 10 years after that. So, because it took him a while to get better from the accident. And then he was also in construction, which was, not lovely at 2008, 2009, whatever that was.
Yeah.
So, that was the beginning. And I call that chapter 1. And, and it was amazing. And I loved everything about it. So as a director, I work with my own clients, and I also get to be business coach for a team of amazing women. And so that whole personal development, to be a conduit of that for other people, is just totally my jam. It gets me out of bed, fired up every day. I love that. And so that was how that journey began. And I was very successful for 12 or 13 years. But there were some stressors going on in our home that nobody knew about. So FYI, everybody has a story.
Oh yeah.
You doesn't matter what car you're driving. Doesn't matter what your bank account looks like.
Absolutely.
We just had a lot of significant losses back to back, and we didn't know how to navigate that. And my husband was struggling with PTSD actually from having worked in juvenile corrections, and we didn't know what to call that at the time.
Oh yeah. That time, that wasn't really
a thing.
Yeah.
Right. All I knew was that he was not okay, and I couldn't make him okay. And meanwhile, I'm trying to homeschool these kids and bring in all the money and counselors for my son and blah, 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 and all of the things. And I had a breakdown in 2014. So I managed all of that until the day that I couldn't. And all of this left the building. Yeah. So depression, anxiety, suicidal for 4 years. So it took me a while to get better. And I'm very thankful to have a chapter 2, because not everybody gets a chapter 2. And I do not take that lightly. So people are like, well, aren't you afraid to make phone calls? And aren't you afraid to do all of the things? I said, sure, because I'm human.
Yeah.
But I'm more afraid that I will have gotten a second chance and to miss my calling a second time. That's my biggest fear, to be honest. I don't want to miss it, whatever it is. And I think there are several things that it is, but I do not want to be disrespectful to my second chance, my chapter 2. So when I got through all of that, when I got through my thing and got healed, I gained 120 pounds. I had completely lost my health. I had lost my entire business because, yes, they do come pick the car up if you don't.
If you don't do the work anymore.
Right. If your customers they have not stopped washing your face because you didn't return their phone call. They have moved on. So all of that went away, and I had opportunity to start at ground zero. And yeah, so it's cool. So when you come back to Mary Kay, it's like they treat you like a whole new person. I have a new consultant number. It's like I was a star consultant for the first time, and they give you these little plaques, blah, blah, blah. And I'd been a star consultant like 57 times. Nope, I got a new star, and it said 1. So like I'm a whole new person. It was great, but it was amazing because I had part of that journey was that I was involved with Celebrate Recovery. So it's a 12-step recovery program to get through that, and then and as part of that journey, I really felt led to apologize to all of those folks. And you have that, you hear that expression, 1,000 pardons, 1,000 pardons. I actually did have 1,000 pardons because I felt that like when I meet with a client, I say, I will be your beauty professional for life as long as you want me. Yeah. And then just
disappear.
Correct. Yeah. And I disappeared for my clients. I disappeared for my team. Because I absolutely couldn't function. So I didn't have their information because, as I said, I was in a very dark place. Yeah. And I thought that I would be leaving. And so I had a bonfire with all of those profiles and all of those agreements because I did not want their information compromised after I was gone.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Crazy, right?
Wow.
Yes. And it's partly why I feel so inspired and passionate to bring hope to the world, because you do not know when is going to be that last straw for somebody. And if you can have been somebody that deposited some strength in their soul, that they can say, yes, my life is really, really difficult right now, but Jason said I'm strong, and maybe he's right. And maybe I can get up one more day. There's a very high calling. So when I got through all of that, there was no question about what I was going to do, because I feel like Mary Kay, actually, the culture and all of the support actually helped save my life. Mm. So you can't put a price tag on that. Can't put a price tag on somebody else's life. So I decided to live, and then I decided to build a life, and here we are.
What was that decision like? Where... was there a defining moment you made a decision? Was it a collection?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had been in counseling, and I personally decided to get strong, and I decided to re-embrace the truth of who I am. And that was partly a spiritual decision for sure. But because of some of the dynamics in our family, I was keeping it really real. I looked at my husband in a counseling session and said, I'm not responsible for your happiness. I have tried, and the hoop keeps moving, and that's not my job. So this is who I am. And if you want to get better with me, that would be great. But this is where I'm going. So I made that decision. I said those words. Which, I needed that environment to feel safe, because I hadn't felt safe in a while. So PTSD is a very big deal. It steals your soul. And he's better, by the way. We're so good.
I always see your post, which is phenomenal. I see the fast forwarded story, the end of the movie, right?
Right. And you're like, that can't be how they were. Yes, that is how we were, which is why I treasure chapter 2, because I know how hard we fought to get her. So there was that defining moment where I decided the direction of my life, regardless of if my husband got better or not. And then what ended up happening is, because I drew that line in the sand, we actually had kind of a blowout thing, and we had a blowout thing, and One of the things in our relationship that had gotten unhealthy was that when things got hard, he would leave.
Yeah. Like fight or flight.
Right. Yeah. Right. And I'm like, we can't really fix it if I'm here by myself.
Yeah.
So we'd had a thing, and he said, "Oh, I just got to get out of here." And I said to him, I said, "Well, you could. That has not served us well up to this point, but you're a grown man and you can make that decision. I'm going to bed. Either stay or don't, And I don't know if he stayed. I honestly don't know, but I do know that something happened in his soul that night because he knelt down by the side of the bed in the morning and he said, "I'm so sorry that I hurt you."
Oh,
Yeah. And we had been married for 25 years and I don't know that I'd ever heard those words. And that was the thing that broke it. So my difficult season was as much for him as it was for me. So he got humble and said he was sorry. And it was like, it was instant. It was the power of that in our family was broken. Yeah. And I got up.
like a spell, just like that.
Absolutely. Yep. Overnight, I had hope. I was like, yep. Okay. That everything just changed. And I got up and I took a shower and I hadn't been showering and I put on makeup and I called my counselor and I'm like, yep, I'm better. And they're like, what?
That just doesn't happen, right?
Right. Yeah. So it was a miracle. It was absolutely a miracle. I mean, it was a miracle that took some work, but when it was done, it was done. Yeah. So I tell people, sometimes God is a suddenly God,
Yeah. Yeah.
like you do have to put in the work, but when the thing shifts, sometimes it's just like that.
It's like the combination lock, right?
Right.
It's like you hear the vault or whatever, and you turn it and it clicks and it just unlocks. It's like that perfect combination. It just aligned.
It did. Exactly right. So who I was before is really different now because I have, I think I have a level of authenticity and compassion that I didn't have before. And certainly, and this might sound really counterintuitive because I'm saying it, but certainly humility, because I know that because you know what, when you're driving a free car and winning diamonds and up on stage and blah blah blah, all the things you can get to be thinking you're all that in a bag of chips.
Yeah.
And I'm here to tell you that all of that can be gone.
Mm-hmm.
All of that can be gone. So
I
don't take any of that lightly.
I think that's the beauty of the story. In the Power of Vulnerability, Brene Brown says stories are data with soul. And I heard that and I'm like, oh my God, that's what this whole podcast is about.
Mm-hmm.
Telling people stories. And first off, I said at the beginning, I don't know your story. I want you on the show because you're positive, because you're motivational, because we've connected on so many different things. And I'm like, you'd be a phenomenal guest. And I know that I can usually do the you said the math, right? I can do the math really quickly and understand that usually people that are that motivational have something, they have a story. Yeah. I didn't expect that in phenomenal, but it's phenomenal in the sense of who's there right now. Mm-hmm. Who's there on top of the world right now? Right. With all the things, feeling like I'm unbreakable, I'm untouchable, and maybe even looking down on people that are having mental breaks, thinking, how are they not strong enough? Right. Right. Yeah. Because anybody can. To your point, you were here, and all of a sudden you were down here. It wasn't expected. No, it was as fast as my healing was. That it was that fast for the break as well. Yeah. You're like up here motivating and inspiring people to all of a sudden, literally burning your things. Yes. Because you're planning not to be here. Right. Yeah. Not a lot of people know that. So there you go. Coffee and grit family. There you go. Yeah. That doesn't get much more real than that. So yeah. So I have a friend, Barbara, and she said this quote to me this one time, and it's stuck with me ever since then. I repeat it over and over, as if you've been through it. If you've been through a situation, you've lived through a situation, you've had certain thoughts, you need to share them because somebody else is going through that thing. Right. And it's to that point, they need hope. Exactly. You need to know that somebody else was there. Right. And that you got through it. Mm-hmm. I am, it's funny because people that know me now, they're like, nah. Right. But but the people who saw it, they were like, yeah. We looked at you and there was nobody home. Yeah, it was very, very scary. So, yes. Yeah. I think I give people permission to get back up, permission and hope, and it's worth it.
And that's my story. So currently my platform is with Mary Kay. I feel like we have great products, but I really feel like my calling is to be an encourager.
Yeah. Yep.
And I love that. I'm also working on my first book, writing a book about that journey because I do love to write, and you know, mental health has never been an easy topic. And I think as challenging as it has been forever, it's epidemic now.
Mm-hmm.
My goodness.
Yeah.
Like the world has tried to break us, let's be honest.
Absolutely.
And so that's my story.
But
Those are the things I'm working on.
And it's so cool to go back to the beginning of and just telling that story of being able to, again, have your pity party, but then quickly see kind of a beautiful situation unfolding in something that you didn't want to be a part of.
Right.
You're able to get past it and see kind of that transition and see that beauty much quicker.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And you know, it's interesting. We talk about that. I talk about that with my team that, and this is a quote from my girlfriend, Jasmine. She's a sister sales director. And she said, the only difference between where you are and where we are is that we get up faster. Because, you know, if you're older than, you know, the age of 5, you know that life is going to knock you down.
Yeah. Yep.
But are you going to stay, or are you going to get back up and then inspire somebody else? That's a choice.
It's not how many times you get knocked down, it's how many times you get back up.
Right.
Is that like Rocky?
Yes.
Like yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Get back up, because that ain't you. Yes. I love me some Rocky. Let's be no. Yeah, I close my eyes during the fight scenes, but you know but the rest of it is really good.
So here's my tough question for you.
Really? Because that was so easy. I was feeling like such a slacker. Yes. Yes. What is?
So the nervousness coming in and being on the show, is it the vulnerability, or is it not feeling like you have something to share? What is the source? What was the source of like that nervousness or anxiety coming in and being on this show?
Because I make my living being pretty and being positive and bring in the hope and all of the things. And I fully expected that you were not going to let me off the hook with like, like fluff or whatever. And some of that is really raw and not pretty. And it's scary because there's not a way to put a pretty bow on it and make it anything other than what it was. And it's scary, marriage on the rocks, finances on the rocks, health gone. None of that is pretty. And so, I'm not about creating an illusion, but I do feel, responsibility to the world to be that positive whatever.
Yeah.
But you told me we're going to be real. I'm like, okay, are you sure? Because
I am absolutely sure.
That's okay. There you go. So that was that. And the truth is, you can't attach your heart to how your message is received.
Yeah.
Because it's going to land with people where it's going to land. And at this point in life, and I don't mean to sound disrespectful, but other people's approval is, it's kind of irrelevant. When Mary Kay is so brilliant, she said, you would worry a lot less about what people think of you if you realized how infrequently they really do. Like, why are we so freaked out about other people's perceptions?
Because most of the time they're freaked out thinking about what you're going to think about them.
Exactly. They're thinking about themselves. Like, it's totally fine. So, whatever. I wanted our time to be together to be something that would add value and that would matter. And I feel a great responsibility about that. So I wouldn't ever want to be a source of discouragement for someone. I would not want to say something that was less than, God honoring or honoring of the journey that we have had. So I just wanted to get it right.
I can't stop smiling besides the, like from ear to ear in the sense of being honored and grateful for you to share that story on this platform and on this show in being that complete 5,000% real. And you talk about, you just talked about how I love Rocky. Right?
Yes.
We love that guy because he's vulnerable, right?
Yeah.
We I think as a society, and I said this on my on the podcast or on the episode last week, the thing that ties all the guests together is that vulnerability.
Oh,
we all have a source of deep vulnerability. That thing that maybe at one point we didn't want to tell people because again, there's a lot of coaches and consultants and speakers and inspirers and motivators. I have difference makers on this show, and they're usually the people that are out. They're the lights for other people. But usually those people are so passionate about being the light because they've been in the darkness.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well said.
That's why I'm here.
Somebody, are y'all taking notes? Because that was like a mic drop right there. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So, and that's why, and again, that's the thing that ties everybody together is I think of people in the community and guests I've had, Mark Howell, like he's out doing every day, working for other people because it's something that he went through. And not only something that he went through, but the way people responded and gave back to him and saved his life. Right. That's a good example of like all that vulnerability, but he's out there now taking that and helping other people.
Yes.
You're out there helping other now. Yeah. And then we think about this story in like every person I've ever talked to in Mary Kay or thinking about Mary Kay's story in like your story so resonates with the audience and the type of people that you want to inspire and motivate and why you do what you do.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
Yeah. If you don't know Mary Kay's story, I'm sure you do, having been to all of those meetings. Yeah. She was, not by her own choice, single mom of 3 kids back in the day when that just wasn't a thing. Like all of this, all of the circumstances in her life aligned that nobody would have faulted her at all if she had chosen to be the victim because she was.
Yeah.
But that's not who she was. That was not her grit. That was not her character. And so she's a great role model for myself and anyone who will listen to her story, because what a champion she was for sure.
Well, and again, I can't wait to put some of these video clips out for you. I can't wait because it's again, how do you attract the people that you want to be around? You put it out there,
right?
And I hope you're not like, don't share that story because there's some pieces in here that people need to hear. But again, as people listen to it, I hope there are other women out there that are like, I want to hear more about Jen, or I want to meet Jen, and I want to be a part of what she's doing because I so resonate with that. And I know just even my wife's journey of kind of going from being at a job every day to then being at home and, doing her business, but all of a sudden it's like you're in solitary confinement.
You're like, I'm so lost.
You're so lost. And so that first time of being
transition.
A stay-at-home mom,
right.
Like you have your kids, great, but like you need adult stimulation, right?
Right.
We need other people that can help us think and like push our thoughts. And
I don't want to eat Cheerios anymore. Right.
But then we lose ourselves.
Yes.
Into that point, you forget that you're pretty, or you forget that you're funny, or you forget that, you forget those things that, my wife forgets that she's likable, or she forgot that she, and so she'd have anxiety going out of the house. And you talking about your husband pushing you and taking you to this meeting, I can totally resonate with that because I've been in those shoes of, you are brilliant. You are when you're out, people gravitate to you. But then you went through this experience of, it's almost like solitary confinement, right? Yeah. You're alone and you just kind of get lost.
Yeah. Yeah. I tell people, don't let your darkest chapter be your final chapter.
Yes.
So we lost my brother too young, to bipolar. So that runs in our family. And the other thing, and this will be in the book, just because mental illness runs in your family doesn't mean you need to give it permission to run over your family.
Mm.
So for myself and my husband, we have drawn the line in the sand that that is not that stops here with us. So we will be healthy, and and we are encouraging our kids to be healthy and just aware that part of that is a physical predisposition. So they need to be aware of that and all of the things. So what line in the sand are you drawing for your family, for their destiny and your grandkids and that legacy and all of that? I wanted my kids to see what a champion does.
Mm.
And, so they saw me go through all of that. And I have a lot of grief that I had to navigate because I was not able to be the mom that they deserved at really pivotal seasons of their life. And that's a part of their story as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're all getting better together. Really thankful about that. And the story will be different for our grandkids because we did the hard work to be this,
so important.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. So we are very present with them because we don't take any of that for granted because all of that could have been not a thing. And we're thankful that it is.
Well, and it's like you don't talk about it, right? And it's one of those things that you kind of sweep under the rug or whatever. But when you can talk about it and communicate and have that communication, you can knowing's half the battle.
Yep. We're only as sick as our secrets. Anybody in recovery will tell you that. And are you going to give that thing control of you, or are you going to be the boss of it? Who's the boss?
You are. Oh my God. Jen.
There you go. I decided to be the boss.
This has been just a phenomenal conversation. I am so glad this worked out and you're able to come down today.
Yeah. Thanks for having me and having it not be as scary. It's still pretty scary, but it's all right. We were laughing, podcast people, we were laughing before we got on there that there are two things that were scaring me today: doing this podcast and parallel parking. And so I've now conquered both of them, and I'm really feeling like a champion. There you go. A little Rocky for you.
This is awesome. Jen, this has been phenomenal.
Are we
Thank you
good?
so much. We're good.
Okay.
I don't know how you can end it much more than when you do the Rocky theme song. It's again, and I think you've said this several times in different ways. It's not how many times you get knocked down, it's how many times you get back up.
Right. And somebody needs you
Yeah.
to get back up.
Yep.
That person that you were going to meet in a coaching situation 2 weeks from now, are you going to save their life? Are you going to make their life richer? Are you going to say something that reminds them that they have value so they're on the planet for their grandkids 5 years from now? That is the power that is entrusted to us, and it's a big deal.
It's a big deal.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Are we good?
We're good.
Good.
Cut.
Dun, 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 dun.